Hello, everybody. Okay, so let's get right into it. The mid-season finale of the haves and the have-nots. And as far as mid-season finales or season finales go, I thought this was underwhelming. Now, it may have had a little bit more of an impact if they put the scene with Wyatt at the end because he slit his wrist and all that, and Catherine was, falling apart over that. So maybe that scene should have been at the end. Even though I don't think Wyatt is going to die, I think it's just, another, like red herring. So let's just continue with that. So he's at in the jail cell, and he had that toothbrush with the razor attached to it, and he's starting to talk about his childhood. I used to be so excited to come home from boarding school and see you and dad. I loved Bananas Fosters. And I'm like, don't those have alcohol in them? And I'm like, maybe that's why Wyatt has a problem. You were giving him Bananas Fosters with alcohol in them. Um, I'm pretty sure there's a way you can do it without alcohol. I didn't look it up, but you can do pretty much every sort of like dessert that has alcohol in it. You can pretty much do it without it. There's an alternative, but anyway, let's not dwell on that and go down that rabbit hole. So Wyatt, I just feel he was being extra manipulative, and I don't think he's gonna die, but he was just laying on the guilt really heavy on Catherine. Of course, she's falling apart. Oh, Wyatt, no, no, guard, guard, and all that. And so that was that. He fell out and was bleeding and all of that, and I didn't take my notes. I just watched the show, so I'm gonna just go scene by scene. I'm checking on my phone, looking at the episode on my phone, seeing where. And so we get to Jim, and he has his plan for Veronica, and he has his hired help, and he's telling him, I want her gone. First, the guy thinks, okay, how long do you want me to hold her for? And he says, I don't want you to hold her. I want her gone. I want her dead. I want you to kill her. And of course, he says, make it look like an accident because we heard him say to David, you know what, has to look like an accident because, she has all that stuff out there on everybody. And I'm pretty sure she has some stuff on Jim too, as well as David. So, that's why Jim wants to make it look like an accident. And so, pretty much was that he had his guy say, you know, get Veronica. Then we see the attorney general, and Jim talks to him on the phone, and he tells Jim, "Well, that one favor you want me to do for you is it's not going to be possible because there's a murder charge involved now." And Jim's like, "Well, I did you a favor, and you need to try to make this happen." And he's like, "Well, the favor, hadn't been giving me." The attorney general's like, "Well, the favor of you giving me Candace Young, that is not, that's not, that's not enough for me to make this other thing happen." And yeah, Jim wants the charges against Catherine to go away. And so the attorney general, he's like, I can't do that. And but Jim, of course, he's like he expects everybody to come through for him as far as what he wants, even if it's impossible. So the attorney general gets off the phone with him, and then he tells I guess it's I guess the guy's his assistant, whatever. I don't know if it's actually been clear what this guy's position is. He starts talking to him about Candace, and because the guy's telling him, well, the story with Candace is like it's being spun, and she's being made to look like the victim, and all of that. Basically, Candace is being made, her image is being like rehabbed, and that's not good for the attorney general. So him and his assistant, they're going like back and forth and trying to figure out what's going on. They're saying, well, maybe Charles is actually in love with her, and the Attorney General's like, would he really throw all that away? Would he really take that sort of risk for somebody like that? And so basically, Attorney General comes to the conclusion that Candace has to go. So I get, and his assistant leaves. It's like as much as say, okay, we're going to, we'll make that happen. I'll get rid of her. That was the gist of it. So now let's just get into Benny and Candace. And I'm like, they are so incredibly hood. Um, and I don't mean and that's the best word I can think for it of it. Not just like I mean like the kind of hood like, oh, I've never had anything before, and I'm really going to act like I've never had anything before. So Benny pulls up in this big old tow truck, and Mitch is like, wait, where'd you get the money from that name? Benny explains that Candace, broke him off and gave him some money. And he bought Mitch a tow truck too. And Benny is just like I said, he's just saying, like, I ain't never had nothing before, so I'm gonna really act like I ain't had nothing before. So he wants to get the tow truck business going again and, go in on the business with Mitch as they had intended to do before. And this scene would have been like, it would have been a compelling scene. It would have been like, oh, great, they're getting the business off the ground if it hadn't have been like involved some money that did not belong to them. And Benny's like talking like he has earned this money, but it's not even his money. It's stolen money, or I wouldn't say stolen because it just ended up in Candace's account somehow, but she's spending money that didn't belong to her. So not exactly a rags to riches story that's compelling since the money doesn't belong to them. But anyway, so Candace shows up. She drives up in this nice truck, and and this is what really got me. So she bought the truck for Mitch because she's like, well, she was like, I was tired of seeing you riding around in that broken down car. Mitch is like, hey, it's vintage. And Benny's got the nerve. Why'd you buy that for him? And he's got the nerve to say, well, he didn't do nothing for me. And I'm like, Benny, come on now, man. Mitch saved your life. You'd be dead right now if it hadn't have been for Mitch convincing his family to help you out. And it was not easy for Mitch to do that. He had to pretty much plead with them to intervene and to let Benny ride in the bed of the truck. He had to plead for that. And Benny's got the nerve enough to just act like, oh, he ain't done nothing. Why'd you buy him a car? Or it was a truck. And they're acting like, okay, like they're all acting like there's just nothing wrong with this, like it's a-okay, hunky dory, all that. And so they go inside, and of course Hannah's waiting in there, and she's livid, and she's just reading them the riot act, like, so she calls Candace a gangster princess, and Benny's talking about, okay, well, I'm gonna buy a house, something small, you can come live with me, mama. And she's like, I'm not living in no gangster paradise. That was funny to me. And then Benny had the nerve enough to say to her, well, it was better than you up in here freeloading. And I'm like, Hannah was not freeloading. First of all, she worked for Catherine. Um, and she did a lot more for Catherine than she had to, even as a friend. She helped Catherine with the cancer. She has just been there for Catherine a lot more than she needed to, and just gone above and beyond. So Hannah pretty much earned that house, and she still pretty much working for Catherine, and she's taking on the power of attorney stuff because really Hannah could have said, you know what, I don't want to be involved in this. This is too much drama. I don't want to be your power of attorney and have, control over your assets and be involved in all that. I don't want to do it. But she did do it. But anyway, Hannah's like, y'all, get your stuff and get out of my house. And Candace's like, well, I was already leaving. And Mitch tried to intervene, and Hannah was like, she was calling him by his full name. Mitchell, you're in my conversation. As much as to say, like, shut up. Mind your own business. This is not for you to be involved in. And Mitch was being respectful. He was pretty much trying to plead, you know, Benny and Candace's case. And you could tell that Candace was probably a little bit remorseful because I think she liked getting on a getting to a good place with her mother, and now she's thrown that away for some money, but she's still rolling with taking the money. So there's that situation, and they've so Candace and Hannah are back at square one. So what else happened? Oh, shoot, an ad. So anyway, let me get oh, that's right, David and Jeffrey. So David was trying to come into the house and he thought Jeffrey was asleep, so he was like, "Oh, let me just kind of let me try to sneak in without waking him up." And Jeffrey was not asleep, and so they have a whole conversation about Jeffrey and who he is, and David was like, "You know what? I just did not expect to see that. It was just I just didn't expect to see it." And basically, David was like, "You know what? It doesn't change the way I feel about you. You're still my son and all that." That's basically what he was saying. He said, "Madison is a lot better for you than that. Just." And so so Jeffrey, I think he was a little bit worried about how he was a little bit worried about how David would see him after he saw him in that position. I mean, but they're okay. So Jeffrey still has one good parent, and Jeffrey tells David, if something were to happen to mom, I would understand. So there's no love lost there. So let me see, and then Jeffrey and Madison are up in the restaurant, and so Madison, he decides to pull the when Harry met Sally thing and just start making a bunch of noise, and Jeffrey's all embarrassed, and so pretty much they had a scene, like, I mean, I guess you could saw if they were trying like a cute scene. Not much going on there. It was kind of funny. Um, Let me make sure I'm getting everything in. I don't want to miss anything. Yeah. Okay, I'm looking. I did miss a little bit of something. The attorney general, he was like, okay, when he wanted to get rid of Candace, he was like, okay, make it look like a suicide, like she was heartbroken over Charles. And I'm like, Candace would not kill herself over a man. And then we got Veronica. She's still being extra rude to the maid, and the maid was like being really polite, and she said her maid was getting ready to say, "Oh, well, that's how my mama raised me." And Veronica said, I don't want to hear about your mama and them." And she was telling her, "Okay, go get my." Veronica was telling the new maid, "Okay, go get my dry cleaning." I think the new maid's name is Linda. Or at least that's what Veronica called her. She was calling her something else in this episode, and then she says, "Go get my dry cleaning, take my car." And the maid's like, "Oh, you want me to take your car?" And she's like, "Of course, you're not going to be on no bus with my $6,000 or $5,000 suits or something. I forget the price point. It have roaches crawling all on them. I'm like, Veronica, you're doing too much once again. And so there's a knock at the door, and Veronica's terrified. She runs to the back and like, and I think the maid was messing with her because she's like, "Ooh, Miss Veronica, there's somebody at the door," and I think she was kind of messing with her then. And we know this maid is no fool, and I'll get to that. So she opens the door, and it's Veronica's hired help, the gang leader or whatever he is, and he's like, "Okay, there's somebody in the streets looking for you, after you. He's a foreigner." And Veronica is clearly scared, and but she tries to pretend that she's not, and he's telling her, "Okay, you need to watch your back." And she's trying to find out who that one thug was that was at her house, the one that she was like, I could clean you up, I could do something with you. She wanted him, she was basically asking for him to be delivered to her. Basically, that's what I got from it. She wants him, and like she was telling the guy, make it happen. And I don't know if he's gonna send the guy over there or not. And but Veronica is just a real mess. Yes. Okay. Um, and Veronica's a real mess. But I'm gonna try to wrap this up because I'm getting, you know, over the time limit I usually like to do for my videos. Let me just breeze right through this and see what else is happening in this episode. Da da da. Okay, so let me just get into it. So the maid, she's a crook, and she's got a boyfriend that's a crook and all of that, and so I was glad to see that because Veronica's trying to set this woman up to get killed, and I'm like, okie dokie, she's got something for you. She's trying to steal from you. So I was glad about that because Veronica just does some wrong stuff. And for once, somebody needs to get over on her. And this, this keeps freezing, and I don't know why. Okay, give me the. Okay, so Candace and Benny, they are they're pack. Oh well, Candace was packing, and Benny he didn't seem to be packing. I guess he just feels like he can get over on Hannah and get out of this mess. And so he's on the computer trying to find out what Derek did. And he finds Derek's mugshot and all that, and then he says, because on I with criminals and stuff, they'll give you all the information, online. Sometimes you can find it, if they well for yeah, you can find information online, okay, about tattoos and all that. And he said, isn't the guy that raped mom, doesn't he have a dragon tattoo? And and he showed Candace the website, and we know that Candace already knows, and that's how it ended. I'm like, weird ending. Um, just a strange ending. I mean, we probably knew that um, Benny was going to eventually find out. I mean, they could have at least had Benny leave the house to go after Derek, and Candace trying to stop him or whatever, or they could have set it up where there was some kind of actual confrontation with Derek. I don't know. I just thought that cliffhanger was underwhelming. That could have been a cliffhanger for an ending for just a episode in the next half of the season, just a regular episode, not the finale, I mean. But anyway, I've gone over a little bit what I like to usually of the time limit I like to have for my videos, so I apologize for that. But that's the review. Like, comment, and subscribe, and as always, I will see you the next time. Bye.